Dr. Namita Sethi, our teacher in charge, Dr. Namita Sethi, and other teachers of the English department. Dr. Etisha Nagar is a professor of psychology at Kamla Nehru College, University of Delhi. Dr. Nagar has been actively invited for numerous talks and lectures for her strong views and active involvement in spreading awareness about topics such as mental health, neurodiversity, and gender. She has been invited for over 100 workshops and sessions in numerous schools and colleges, addressing over thousands of students, teachers, and even parents over her career spanning nearly a decade. In her free time, she enjoys using the tool of social media to make mental health jargons accessible and understandable in an attempt to contribute to making the world a more passionate, empathetic, just, and a self-aware place. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Nagar to please take over the session.
Thank you, Parinita. Firstly, good evening to one and all. My immense gratitude to Janki Devi College department, English department, and the principal, the teacher in charge, and of course, Dr. Ruchika for inviting me here and initiating this very important conversation on the topic of emotional intelligence. Firstly, I just wanted to quickly check in. There are about 100 people in the room. Is it okay if once in a while I kind of move into Hindi? If I use Hindi, would that be okay? Is there anyone here who has, if there's anyone, you can just let me know. Since it's my mother tongue, emotions are more easily expressed and sentiments are more easily expressed in Hindi. I'll try to stick to English though. Is it okay if I?
Yes, yes, Dr. Nagar, just wanted to say that now bilingualism is a part of, all the events that we organize. So we really welcome this move on your part.
All right, fantastic. That's wonderful for me. All right, so that was the first thing that I wanted to check. The second thing is I do have 1 hour in hand and I would love for it to be extremely interactive. I know online medium does not, kind of limits our interaction somewhere, but I'd be very happy to have people share in their experiences or participate. I am bringing in certain activities here and there. So basically, I would like to cover a lot of things because this topic is huge and large. And I would love for you to take back some very important points. But yeah, so let's hope that this is more interactive. Feel free to use the chat box. I should be able to read what's being written in the chat box once in a while, and I'll take up some things. Also, feel free to unmute yourselves and ask any questions or make any comments if you have to. All right. So let's start. Everyone ready? Let's start talking about emotional intelligence. If you're all prepared already, just send me a thumbs up or something on the chat in the chat box. Ready? Fantastic. Fantastic. We have over 100 participants. This is fantastic. All right. So emotional intelligence. I'm going to break this word down into these two words, emotional and intelligence. Okay. So look around you. You're in college right now. Some of you are in first year, second year, or third year. So whenever you heard this word intelligence, like, intelligence is such a coveted quality. Like nobody wants to be called dumb, right? Is there anyone over here who doesn't want to be intelligent? Of course not. So we want everyone to think we are intelligent, right? And we've grown up in school setups where we have kind of, we've all wanted at the parent teacher meetings for teachers to say, oh, your kid is very intelligent. We want our parents to be proud of us. But most importantly, we want them to be proud of our intelligence. So when I speak about intelligence, who was the kid in your class who was considered to be most intelligent and why? So that's my question. In your class today, or in your class way back in school, who was considered to be intelligent and why? That's my question. Feel free to respond. Intelligent bacha. Okay, everyone is a combination of dumb and intelligent. Society किस चीज को intelligence मानती है? Okay, sharp mind, topper. Marks आ रहे हैं, topper है. What else? Someone who gets really high marks, someone who's topping the class. Anything else? Is there any particular subject that we think, oh, academically, someone who's academically good, fantastic, yeah, marks. कोई ऐसा सब्जेक्ट है जिसमें अगर आप अच्छा करते हो तो लगता है इंटेलिजेंट है? मैथ्स. All rounder, someone who's good in English. Muskan, that's a very very good observation that you've made. कोई फटाफट फर्राटेदार इंग्लिश बोलता है तो लगता है कि उसमें दिमाग होगा. Yeah, person who tops, gets respect. Law, science, okay. साइंस एंड मैथ, आईआईटी किसी ने अगर क्लियर कर दिया है तो आपका मैरिटल मार्केट तक, जब आपकी शादी होती है तब तक आप उसको दिखाते रहते हो, हमारा लड़का आईआईटी से है, हमारा लड़का आईआईटी से, हमारा लड़का आईआईटी से, हमारा लड़की आईआईटी से. किसका ये मतलब है हमें दहेज अच्छा चाहिए. So that becomes like a thappa of your intelligence till the time that you die. My father is from IIT. Okay, I am from IIT. So all of these brand values, right? I'm at some point of time saying that I belong to Stephens, like I've studied from Stephens, or I've studied from LSR, or also marks of was a mark of intelligence. I'm an intelligent person. I got through the cleared the cutoff of this college, LSR, Hindu, Hansraj, and yeah. So someone who was taking up humanities was considered to be dumb. आप इंटेलिजेंट हो, आप ह्यूमैनिटीज क्यों ले रहे हो? आपको साइंस लेना चाहिए. तुम तो इतने अच्छे मार्क्स आए हैं, तुम साइकोलॉजी क्यों पढ़ रहे हो, तुम सोशियोलॉजी क्यों पढ़ रहे हो, तुम पॉलिटिकल साइंस क्यों पढ़ रहे हो, आर्ट्स क्यों पढ़ रहे हो? एंड स्पेसिफिकली इट वाज आल्सो जेंडर्ड. लड़कियां लेती हैं आर्ट्स, तो लड़कों का क्या फायदा आर्ट्स लेने का? करेक्ट. सो most of all, our society thinks getting marks, and specifically the child who can do maths and science, is an extremely intelligent person, and they get all the status that is associated with being intelligent they get through colleges, they get through universities, possibly get through jobs also, right? So having said that, research says that being able to do maths and science is not the marker of success. In fact, the marker of success is this concept called emotional intelligence that we are here to discuss today. Now, that we've spoken about the word intelligence, let's speak about the word emotional. What comes to your mind when I say this word emotional? Emotional. She's emotional. He's emotional. Too sensitive. Someone has written to me, too sensitive. Caring and affectionate behavior. So emotional is someone who's caring, someone who's affectionate. Is emotional considered to be a positive word or not so positive word in our society? Have you ever heard this word? Don't be so emotional. Why are you so emotional? Be practical. Why are you so sensitive? Why do you have to always be so emotional about things? Why can't you think about things? Why do you have to always cry about things? Yes, there are people who say that, yes, it can have positive connotations and it can have also negative connotations. Munira is very correct, especially in context of boys. Now, if we look at this word, emotional, do you think it has more negative value attached to it if it was a boy expressing being emotional as opposed to a female? Do you think being emotional is something that we value in boys in our society? Yes, Kushi, Muskan? Not you personally, but society. Not you. आप personally नहीं. But society क्या emotional शब्द को positively लेती है या नहीं लेती है? और अगर नहीं लेती है तो क्या is there lesser leeway given to boys than girls for being emotional. So yes, we have a very negative attitude towards something that is part of all human beings and animals, which is we have emotions. And we, all of us as a society, almost have a very conflicted relationship with our emotions. The relationship that we have with our emotions is they should not exist. Okay. There are few emotions, however, we have selected that they must exist. For example, happiness and joy. We believe that joy or happiness is an emotion that we enjoy, but no other emotion, whether it's jealousy, whether it's anger, whether it's disgust, these are called negative emotions because we do not like to experience them. Okay, let me talk about this thing about too much. So oftentimes when you talk about emotions, we always say it's the head versus the heart, right? दिमाग से decision ले या दिल से decision ले. So if I was to feel things, then I would do this. If I was to think about things, I would do this. In our society, thinking and rationality and rational decision making has a lot of value, and very little value is associated with emotional sensitivity or thinking. Emotional sensitivity or emotionality. People who are emotional and sensitive always almost are supposed to hide their emotions, right? They feel ashamed and shame about feeling more emotional than what averagely people do. And specifically boys, since they are like little boys, they're asked to not cry, they're asked to not be sad, are expected to not experience fear as an emotion, they're expected to not experience pain as an emotion. मर्द को दर्द नहीं होता है, तू डरता है, कैसा आदमी है तू डरता है, right? There is one emotion, however, which men are allowed to experience, feel, and express. And it is only one emotion in which the society expects them to express themselves, or at least gives them a lot of leeway. Can you guess which emotion is that? Anger. Correct. That's anger. It is the same emotion which is not allowed to women. तुम इतना लड़ाई झगड़ा करती हो, दूसरे के घर जाओगी तो हमारा नाम खराब करोगी. What is that emotion that women are often allowed to experience more than anger? Sadness. Be soft, be passive, be, what's that called? In distress. What in distress? The lady in distress. Yes, timid, nervous, shy, damsel in distress. Thank you, Gauri. Damsel in distress. So we're expected to be that. Do you know the rates of phobia are higher in, I'm going into gender discussion. I know I'll come back to EI, but this is very interesting. Do you know rates of phobia are higher in women than men? Because as women, if you see all these old movies, right? Ladka ladki kisi room mein hai aur bijli kadak rahi hai and suddenly the girl goes like, oh mujhe dar lag raha hai. And if in case a boy says mujhe dar lag raha hai, he's shamed. He's told that you can't be a man and experience emotions like fear and pain. To the extent that even if your parent passes away, you are not allowed to cry as a boy. Similarly, for women, the expression of anger is not allowed. You are supposed to repress anger. Overall, as a society, we, like I said, we are people who love to repress our emotions. Go back to COVID. Go back to how difficult COVID times were for each and every one of us. But as a society, all of us have turned a blind eye to the pain that we all went to collectively, the grief that we all went to collectively. कोई अगर डेथ होती है फैमिली में तो हम किसी को रोने ही नहीं देते हैं. We are like, मत रो, उन्हें बुरा लगेगा. Then what do? What do you do if you're sad? What do you do if you're angry? What should you do with emotions? Why do we as society pretend like we are robots who don't feel? We're only supposed to think and work like a, work like a robot 24/7. Why are our emotions an inconvenience? This session of 1 hour, we're going to talk about the fact that we have to be mentally healthy. Not only should we make space for our emotions in our lives, understand them, sit with them, be friends with them, but also how do we tap into the potential of our emotions? How can we put this word together, emotional intelligence and emotions, making it emotional intelligence? Because this is one quality that is very much responsible for, well, success at workplaces, success at home, whatever you value most, whether it is a career success or relationship success, but also a very healthy relationship with your own self. So we are actually moving from shoving. So there is this one quote that emotions are like children. You definitely cannot put them in the driver's seat कि चलो आप गाड़ी चलाओ. बच्चों को आप ड्राइवर सीट पे तो नहीं बिठा देते ना, लेकिन आप उनको ट्रंक में छुपा भी नहीं देते हो बच्चों को कि चलो अंदर घुस जाओ ट्रंक में. They have to be next to you. You cannot be driven by your emotions, but you cannot be repressing your emotions also. I would very much encourage all of you to watch this very beautiful movie called Inside Out. Have you seen this movie? Anyone seen Inside Out? It's a cartoon movie. Beautiful movie about emotions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, just 8 people. 100 people means 8 people. You must watch. I think it's on either Amazon or Netflix if you can. Do watch this movie. It's a beautiful movie and it talks about pretty much what I'm going to talk about today. Get over it. How many of you use this sentence? Pehle, get over it. Just get over it, man. Get over it. Everyone's used. I've used. I remember I was standing in class one day and I just said, okay, just get over it. And that's when I realized that getting over it means bypassing your emotions. It means that, okay, you know what, forget it, repress it, move on. All of us have gotten over the pandemic. We haven't gotten through the emotions that pandemic made us feel, locked in, alone, scared, almost on the verge of dying, losing people around us, becoming extremely sick, being very, very dependent on others, not having people around us. All of these are very powerful experiences, emotional experiences that we had. And just because we're not talking about it does not mean that we have resolved them. It means that we are currently operating by being numb towards these memories. We're currently operating by being in denial and repressing them. They are going to come up. Any repressed emotion, it doesn't magically go away. It comes up in your body, it comes up in disorders, it comes up in different kinds of physical diseases, it comes up through in your relationships, it comes up in conflicts that you have with your relationships. And that is why having an understanding of our emotions and tapping into the sensitivity, making it one of your biggest strengths. So for example, I was a good scorer in school. I'm just going to talk about myself for 1 minute. I was a good scorer in my school, but I did not have a brain that could. मैं अभी भी मार्केट जाती हूँ तो मेरे से मेंटल मैथ्स नहीं होता. मुझे नहीं पता अगर मैंने 100 रुपए दिए तो मेरे कितने वापस पैसे आने हैं. if $60 or $70 का मैंने कुछ सामान खरीदा, whatever. So I'm always like pretending that I know maths, but I don't think I know mental maths that well. And oftentimes I felt a lot of shame about it. In fact, sometime when I was having dinner with a couple of friends, some of them were from IIT Kharagpur, IIT Kanpur, whatnot. Like, how are you a professor? You can't split a bill between 5 people. I said, well, I'm not a professor of maths. I'm a professor of psychology. But it took me a very long time to know that my strength is my emotional intelligence. The system may not always recognize this kind of an intelligence, but it is something that all of us have Some of us possibly naturally have it to some greater extent, which is what we call too sensitive. When you're this too sensitive person is the one who can empathize a lot with other people, because your sensitivity allows you to pick up on emotional cues that a lot of people may not. So you might be that sensitive kid who knows that that the person who you never really talk to is sitting silently quiet and possibly looks very low. So you should possibly go and just, maybe chat with them and talk to them. That's empathy. And it's much needed in our society today. So this is one of my favorite quotes. I don't know how many of you seen this show, Never Have I Ever. Have you seen Never Have I Ever? Never Have I Ever. Anyone seen Never Have I Ever? It's an interesting show. Helped me understand Gen Z a bit better. Oh, that's great. That's great. Fantastic. Lots of people can have seen it. It's when you feel a lot, when you're very emotional as a person, when you're sensitive and you've been constantly called you're too much, you're too sensitive, you're too this, you're too that, you feel too much, you think too much, you shouldn't feel so much, all of those things. So this young girl, 18, 19-year-old, she goes to a therapist and says that I feel a lot. And she says that, yes, you feel a lot, which means sometimes you will feel hurt a lot. But it also means that you're going to lead a very emotionally rich life. So being sensitive it does not always just mean hurt. It means that the way you're engaging with the world, it is very different from the way you intellectually grasp world. And this is one of my favorite quotes. The heart has its reasons which reason does not know. दिल के कुछ रीजंस होते हैं, मन कर रहा है, दिल कर रहा है, मुझे लग रहा था, मुझे फील कर रहा है. A lot of times your mind will not get कि आपने ये क्यों किया, but आपका दिल चाह रहा था, दिल चाहता है. I'm gonna bring in something from this movie दिल चाहता है also. But आपका दिल चाह रहा था, तो इसलिए किया आपने. But that may not be rational, that may not be reasonable, that may not be even advised. But still, that doesn't take away from the fact that a lot of life is irrational. A lot of life is felt and experienced and not thought. And there are many people extremely repressed in their emotionality. They try to think their emotions through. They try to treat emotions like a numerical problem. 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. When actually 2 plus 2 is 5 in the world of emotions. It doesn't always make sense in a rational way, in an intellectual way, right? So the first and foremost step towards developing emotional intelligence is try to move away from the negative gaze that you have we have internalized this gaze, right? I remember I'm a highly emotionally intelligent person. I'm a psychologist. I teach psychology. I generally thrive in conversations that have to do with deep emotional things like pain, like suffering. Like you talk to me about it, it doesn't feel heavy for me. It actually feels real and meaningful for me. But the moment you talk to me about weather, you talk to me about clothes, you talk to me about fashion, I'm dead. It is so boring for me. It is so blah for me. And yet I had a friend's friend, kind of who'd lost someone close a couple of years ago. And someone I knew said that let's go and meet her. She's not feeling too well. And the first thing that I came is, I don't think I want to go. I'm not up emotionally to take that. She's not feeling well. So I'm not up. So I thought that her not well is emotionally not well. So I ended up saying I'm not up for it. And then later on, I thought about it and I realized actually her not well was that she had khasi zukham. So in a way, my first thought went that she's possibly feeling aggrieved, low, and she's grieving. And I do not have it in me to support a grieving person. And yet every time that I've spoken to a grieving person, I have felt alive. And by alive, I mean I have felt that these are very real conversations that a society does not know how to have. Besides एक ये बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चन मुझसे एक बच्चे ने पूछा था, क्लास 12 का लड़का, कि मैम आई डोंट नो हाउ टू सपोर्ट माई फ्रेंड हुज लॉस्ट हिज फादर. मैं क्या बोलूं अपने फ्रेंड को who's lost his father, and that is why oftentimes men don't know how to talk about breakups, they don't know how to talk about losing parents, they don't know what to do. And this is because our society kind of again has that attitude towards emotions, ki brush them under the carpet. We really don't know how to have these, I wouldn't call them very difficult, they are very difficult conversations for people who've never tapped into their emotions, who've repressed emotions. Otherwise, these are not very difficult conversations. And we're going to talk more about that. Are you with me so far? Just checking in here. Are you with me so far? Fantastic. Let's move ahead and let's do some very interesting activity. Generally, this activity works very well if you're in person. Astha, do you have something to say? Yeah. Astha, you've raised your hand. Okay, Astha, let me know in case you have to say anything. So this is an activity that, Shreyas, you wanted to say something? People are raising their hands. Okay. If you want to speak, just unmute yourself and speak. Okay, so are you friends here? All the people over here, do you have a friend here? Haan, nahi, you don't know each other. I'm assuming some of you are classmates, your friends. Can you form like group of two people? No, you're not friends. Nobody's friends here. Anyone who's friends here on? Oh, Shreyas. Is it possible to Acha na, there are 100 students, it will become quite distractive. Shreyas, did you want to say something? Feel free to just write it down, I'll address it. Okay, coming back to the question, do you have friends here? Do you have people who know each other here? Or jiska number aapke paas ho, phone pe? I'm just trying to do an activity and see if we can work it out in an online manner. So feel free to participate. Make group of two people. Okay. So you and someone you know who's also maybe your friend. Okay. Understood? ठीक है, अब क्या करना है, बना लिया? Shreyas, I'll answer that. We'll come to that. All right. So have you made are you working in a team now? What do you have to do? Two things. Can you see these adjectives over here? Able, accepting, adaptable, bold, brave, calm, caring, cheerful. Can you see them? Ingenious, intelligent, empathetic, patient, self-conscious, wise, witty. Yeah? देख सकते हो ना? So what you have to do is, out of all of these adjectives, write down adjectives that you would use to describe yourself. Okay. And it could be any number of adjectives. You could put all of them if you feel they are applicable for you. You could put 5 of them. You could put 10 of them. And next thing you do is, on a sheet of paper, write down the adjectives that you think describe your friend who's in the team that you have well. Got it? You have a list of adjectives in front of you. You can take as many adjectives as you want. First, make a list of adjectives that describe you. And second, make a list of adjectives that describe your friend. Okay, I'm giving you 2 minutes to do it. Go through this, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And when you're done, just let me know. And then I would need just few volunteers who may want to share this. In the meantime, would it be possible to unmute the students for maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes so that we can...
Students have been unmuted, so they can try. Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much. So I hope you got the activity. You have a list of adjectives in front of you. Make 2 columns, adjectives that describe me, adjectives that describe my friend or the partner that you are with, paired with. And let me know when you're done. Done? Let me know when you're done. We'll just wait for a couple of other people to be done. Sarah and Muskan. All right. Writing, if you're still writing, go ahead. If you're done, I'll just need few volunteers to kind of move ahead with me. So do one thing. Okay, Sarah, whoever you're partnered with, can you exchange the characteristics that they have written for you and you have written for them? Sarah and Muskan, we'll just have this with these two people right now, 4 people actually. Rest of you, please observe what we are doing. Sarah, can you just text this friend over WhatsApp or something and get their sheet there? And Muskan, can you do the same? Just ask them to WhatsApp you their characteristics that they've written for you, and you give them in turn the characteristics that you've written for them. Got it? For rest of you, you can do the same. If you have partnered with someone, ask them to send you the characteristics they have selected for you. And you in turn send them the adjectives that you have selected for them. Understood? Sarah left. Sarah, we were playing.
Yes, ma'am, I have shared.
Muskan?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Muskan. And anyone else who'd like to volunteer? Just 2 people maybe? Lavanya can't exchange. Just WhatsApp or something. You can just get a list. Or you can directly message them the list also over here.
Ma'am, we are done.
All right, fantastic. So Muskan, can you write down, can you make this box in a sheet? Write down those things that you have written for yourself and your partner has written for you. All of you write down in this box, which is called the open area. Things that, let's say, I have selected for myself, bold. And my friend has also selected for me, bold. So write all of those features down. You can draw this, of course, in the first box, which is called the open area. Done? Simple. Ek baar just go through it and see what are the common. If there are no common, then that is also okay. Then you don't know each other as well. Any confusion? Write down those adjectives that you had also selected for you and your friend has also selected for you or your partner has also selected for you. Okay? In the hidden area now, write down those adjectives that only you had selected, your partner has not selected for you. So let's say I have described myself as logical, but it is not the adjective my partner has used to describe me. She's not selected logical for me. Understood? This is the hidden area.
मैम मैंने उसके लिए लिखे हैं वो, और उसने मेरे लिए लिखे हैं, हमने इस टाइप से कर लिया वो।
करेक्ट। अब दोनों लिस्ट सामने रखो, जो आपने अपने लिए लिखा है और जो उन्होंने आपके लिए लिखा है। ठीक है,
नहीं मैम, मैंने उनके लिए लिखा था और उन्होंने
वो
मेरे
अपने आप
लिए।
करेंगे। हाँ हाँ हाँ, अपने लिए भी लिखना था ना, अपने लिए भी लिखना था। अभी लिख लो। In this list, you had to write for yourself and you had to write for your partner. ठीक है, is this okay? You had to write for yourself and you had to write for your partner. Find out those characteristics which are common in both these lists. अगर bold common है तो लिखो, logical common है तो वो open area में लिखो. Is this fine? Muskan, are you still with us?
Yes ma'am, I am writing.
Actually, you're writing for yourself. Rest. Anyone else wants to volunteer? Those who are not volunteering right now, feel free to do this exercise with your, it's a very good exercise for learning about yourself. Okay. These are the list of adjectives. You can take a screenshot of these adjectives and then just ask your parents or your sibling or your friend to describe you. And you describe you. Okay. आप अपने आप को describe करो और अपने friend को describe करो. Now, write all the things, adjectives that your, let's say, parent has described you and you have described yourself. They're common in both these lists in the open area. This is part of yourself that you also know and your parents also know. For example, if you're funny, you describe yourself as funny, everyone around you knows that you're funny. You also know that you're funny, right? But there are things that we are hiding about ourselves, which could be things that only we know, but others do not know about us. For example, you could say, I am a very emotional person, but I do not show that side of myself to anyone else. Or you could say, I feel like murdering people. मुझे इतना गुस्सा आता है, मेरा मन करता है मैं किसी को मार दूं, but I'm of course not allowed to show that side to me. So this is called the hidden area. Write all the traits that you have chosen for yourself, but the partner has not. Then in the third box, which is called the blind spot box, please write down all the characteristics that your friend has chosen for you, but you haven't chosen for yourself. For example, your friend says that you are trustworthy, but like, I am trustworthy. Okay, fine, maybe I am. I didn't know that. Or let's say, oh, you're extremely tensed. You're always tensed. I am tensed. I'm never tensed. In fact, or your friend could say, oh, you're temperamental. You get irritated and aggressive very easily. आपको बड़ी जल्दी गुस्सा आ जाता है. And you're like, नहीं, मेरे को तो कभी जल्दी नहीं गुस्सा आता. और आप गुस्से में बोल रहे हो वो वाली बात. That's called a blind spot. Others can see sides to you that you cannot see in yourself. And the last part, put all the adjectives here that nobody's chosen for you. You haven't chosen for yourself, but you won't mind exploring this side to you. For example, kindness. Am I kind? I would like to be kinder than I am. I get irritated very easily. I get angry very easily. I need to be more loving and kind to others. And this is the part of me that I want to explore. Did you get this exercise? Even if you may not have been able to participate in an online medium? समझ में आया this exercise?
Yes ma'am.
This is a very beautiful exercise. It's called Johari's window model. It's an exercise that can help you learn more about yourself. There are things that others know and we know about ourselves. There are things that we know, but we hide from the rest of the world. Your sexuality could also be an hidden area. Maybe you're not heterosexual, you're homosexual, you're queer, you're bi. But that's a hidden part of your personality and self because you don't feel safe enough to share it with everybody else. Or you could be queer, but others know that about you. You may not know that about yourself because you're in denial about your sexuality. That could be your blind spot, for example. जो चीजें आपको नहीं दिखती हैं. And unknown is so much about you that you still haven't explored. You haven't got, for example, maybe you don't know that you have leadership skills. किसी ने बोला तू क्लास की सीआर क्यों नहीं बन जाती, and you're like नहीं मैं नहीं बन सकती सीआर, but you have become a brilliant CR. You're an excellent leader. You coordinate very well. You organize mass bunks without pissing off the teachers, without irritating any student in the class. You're able to carry things off. For the jokes apart, you are a leader, and you are able to be a leader because you just took up an opportunity you did not think. There's so much of unknown things. आप girls college में आप सब इतने सारी चीजें आपने अपने बारे में सीखी होंगी because there are no boys around. Something as simple as, oh, I can be the college president. I can be the vice president. Because when we think about politics, we think that it is not girls' job to be leaders. We don't associate leadership with girls. Unknown wala part wo hota hai. Unknown, Lavanya, since you've messaged me, unknown part is that which we don't know and nobody else knows. For example, जब आप co-ed school में पढ़ते थे और टीचर बोलती थी कि जाके चेयर उठा के ले आओ दूसरी क्लास से, the girls would not get up because girls were not supposed to get up. It was always be the boys who would get up. And yet in girls college आपको सामान उठाना है, डालना है, गिराना है, फर्नीचर ले जाना है, ऊपर ले जाना है, नीचे ले जाना है, पार्टी हो रही है, इधर हो रही है, वो हो रही है, स्टूल उठाने हैं. Everything we're doing sports, we're doing extracurriculars, we're doing leadership, we're playing politics, we're doing politics. And all of these are features that we come to know about ourselves because there are no men around. And so therefore, there are aspects of your personality that come out which they may not have come out because, oh, I don't need to be a leader. क्योंकि आपको किसी ने push कर दिया उस position में तो आप कर पाए. For example, during the COVID, many women had to become entrepreneurs and most of them had made home baking business या खाने का business क्योंकि their husbands lost their job, which they would not have done if their husbands still had job. They would have probably been satisfied being homemakers. So self-awareness. Have you heard this story? Sorry, let me just remove this. Have you heard the story of the ugly duckling? Ugly duckling की story सुनी है? बचपन में, has anyone heard about the story ugly duckling? Munira, would you be so kind to tell us the story for those who've not heard the story? Please unmute yourself and feel free to tell us the story, Munira, if you're comfortable. If you're not, then Amrita, go for it, any one of you. Munira, are you able to unmute yourself? Acha, okay, no problem. Amrita, would you like to?
Yes, ma'am. So there was this duckling that grew up among swans and constantly felt like it was different, that there was something wrong with it, that it was ugly, but it wasn't actually a duckling. It was a swan chick. So it grew up to be a swan.
Correct. Correct. So what is the moral of the story? You're not an ugly duckling. You're a beautiful swan. Right? So when you don't have self-awareness, we constantly feel there's something lacking in us. We have low self-esteem because when we look at people around us, like for example, I looked at people around us and I thought that, oh, I can't do maths as quickly as these people can. But I was not an ugly duckling. I was a beautiful swan, which means that what I can do, what are my strengths? Those are things that possibly others can't do as well, or maybe they can also. Who knows? Right? So when the swan got this awareness that it is a swan and not a duckling, it started feeling that it is also beautiful. If it compares itself exactly, if you find the right people, but most importantly, the right people will help you exactly. They will become mirrors who will tell you that you are beautiful, right? So self-awareness is one of the most important qualities of emotional intelligence. Why I have taken this quote is very beautiful, because Ranveer Singh's character says, promise me you will not do that again. And she's like, acha, I would not do that again. He says, okay, kha meri kasam. And she says, mar jayega tu. Because she also knows that she's temperamental. She also knows that she gets aggressive very easily and she's very extremely possessive. Does not condone her behavior. We are not talking about condoning one's all behaviors, but the first step is at least accept and have awareness. There is no change without acceptance or without awareness. Knowing about yourself, one, I feel a lot of people, when you make decisions, for example, let's say career decisions, marriage decisions, किससे शादी करे, किससे नहीं करे, what are you basing it on? You cannot base it on just emotions. You cannot base it on, have you seen the movie Lakshya? Hrithik Roshan's movie Lakshya. Have you seen it? Or even Wake Up Sid, for that matter. Lakshya, Wake Up Sid, you have these people who don't know what to do in their life. They don't know because they haven't explored themselves enough to know. तो लक्ष्य में क्या होता है, किसी ने आर्मी का ज्वाइन, somebody saying something? ओके सो किसी ने आर्मी, उसके फ्रेंड ने एक आर्मी का ज्वाइन करने का फॉर्म भर दिया होता है, तो कहते चलो मैं भी आर्मी ज्वाइन कर लूंगा. And another friend of his goes to do MBA and he's like, oh, मैं भी MBA कर लूं, मैं भी ये कर लूं, मैं भी वो कर लूं. This is generally your teenage stage, where you're still figuring out who you are, what you like, what you don't like, what kind of people you hang out with, what are your values. So do you want money, or do you want relationships, or do you want both? And if you have to choose between relationships and career and money, what is your priority? For example, this friend of mine, she left her job because she wanted to stay at home and look after her children. Now, from a feminist perspective, you say, Arey, no, you should be independent financially, whatever. But she's very clear that my husband can earn enough to suit our family. But this time that I have to spend with my children, I will not be happy if I work right now. I want to spend time with my children and see them grow up and maybe take up a part-time job or whatever. She was very clear about herself and her needs. So knowing about yourself is knowing about what your strengths are, what are your challenging areas, what are your needs, what are your values. And then you align choices with your values. There are many people I cannot today, because I have very clear values about what I like, I can't hang out with certain people. At least they can't be very close friends to me. Same thing, once you grow up, you make friends whose values are aligned with yours. For example, let's say I'll take the same example, you're a queer person, or you're a person who belongs to a marginalized caste. You cannot be best friends with someone who's a bigot. You cannot be best friends with someone jo bole, bigot, who are nasty and bully queer people, for example, if you're queer yourself, because your values are not aligned with each other. Right. So self-awareness helps you to make better decisions. The second component of emotional intelligence is management of yourself. And the most important aspect of self-management is emotional regulation. For example, I always take up Kabir Singh in all my workshops. And the reason is that this person was very low on emotional intelligence. He was, of course, in fact, he needed therapy, a lot of therapy. He was a very intelligent person. He was a surgeon. He was getting drunk and doing surgeries, which is not in an intelligent behavior at all. If anything, it is a criminal act. But most importantly, the scene where he's angry with his girlfriend and he slaps her. And this is something that is sold to young girls as romance. This is not, forget intelligent. This is abusive behavior. So emotional intelligence, a large part about emotional intelligence is emotional regulation. Being able to, there was a quote by Aristotle which I'll go back to. Anybody can easily become angry. Everybody becomes angry. A dog becomes angry. A dog can also get jealous because animals also have emotions. But to be angry with the right person, the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, in the right way, that requires training, that requires sitting with your emotions, that requires practice, and that requires emotional regulation, which is part of your self-management. Self-management is also keeping yourself motivated. Lakshya bolein ya wake up. Sid is a guy who is living off his father's money, doesn't know about love, doesn't know who she wants to be with, what he wants to do in his life. So that is why the movie Wake Up. Wake up means get a hang of your life, figure out what you want and go for it. So self-management also consists of regulating, not just regulating your emotions, but also keeping yourself motivated and enthusiastic for the goals that you want in your life, whatever those goals are. Emotions can be felt in body, right? Anyone who wants to, so I'm going to talk about fear, anger, and sadness. There are people who are predominantly experience anger. Just we spoke about how men are encouraged to predominantly, everything is anger for them. Have you seen boys who, लड़के क्या करते हैं, आपका बर्थडे पार्टी में बर्थडे बम्स देते हैं, एंड आई एम लाइक, मेरी अगर दोस्त का बर्थडे हो तो मैं उसे मारूंगी नहीं, आप मारते क्यों हो अपने दोस्तों को, right? So but that's aggression is, or hitting or bullying others is there, in fact, their way of showing affection towards another. Someone said that, ma'am, we want to celebrate our friend's birthday, that's why we hit him. It doesn't make sense to me. Body scan. Whenever you're feeling strong emotions, take a minute to just scan your body from top to bottom. For example, गुस्से में मुंह लाल क्यों हो जाता है? गुस्से में मुंह लाल हो जाता है, jaws clenched हो जाते हैं, your fists get clenched, and you just feel like कुछ ऊपर आ रहा है, उभर के आ रहा है. That's the anger, right? मुंह लाल क्यों हो जाता है? Because the blood rushes to your hand. It helps in fight response. और जब आप डरते हो तो फेस पेल क्यों हो जाता है, सफेद क्यों पड़ जाता है? Because all the blood rushes to your legs. Because when you're afraid, you want to run away, right? एंजाइटी कैसी फील होती है बॉडी में, गुस्सा कैसा फील होता है, हार्ट एक कैसा फील होता है, ब्रेकअप होता है, दुख होता है, या इफ यू गोइंग थ्रू ग्रीफ, इफ यू लॉस्ट समथिंग क्लोज टू यू, हाउ डज इट फील इन योर बॉडी? जनरली योर बॉडी फील्स हेवी, योर चेस्ट फील्स हेवी, इट फील्स लाइक कुछ भरा हुआ है यहाँ पे, एंड यू फील लो, यू डोंट फील लाइक बीइंग एक्टिव. एंगर क्या कहते हैं? कुछ करते हैं, चलो हम कुछ करते हैं, ऐसे कैसे उन्होंने तुम्हें कह दिया, हम, दैट इज एंगर. It is telling you you need to change things. It is giving you the message something wrong has happened, injustice has happened, someone has transgressed your boundaries, you need to take charge. That is anger. Fear is what? मुझे डर लग रहा है. I need to feel safe. I need to tell myself I'm safe. I need to tell myself कुछ नहीं होगा. I am okay. Everything is fine. Nothing, it's not the end of the world. That is what fear and anxiety is telling you, that you need safety. And what is sadness telling you? What is depression? What is sadness? You don't feel purpose, meaningless. You don't feel connected with the world. You feel akele man karta, akele raho, withdraw kar jao. Sadness is telling you need a purpose. You need to do something that makes you feel alive, that makes your being alive. Jo bhi aapko khushi deti. That could be your parents, that could be your friend, that could be an ice cream, that could be a chocolate. You reach out for that to feel. Yes, numbness, sadness can also feel extremely numb. Kuch feel nahi ho raha hai. And that is communicating to you that, one, you should feel it. And then move towards either take rest or sleep, take a break, maybe hug something, maybe hug your dog, hug your pet, hug maybe hug your pillow when you're sleeping. Because you need that physical affection and touch. Everyone needs physical affection, consensual physical affection and touch. Yeah. So whenever you're overcome with emotions, it is always better to take time off to process it before you act on them. Mostly जब हमें गुस्सा आता है हम क्या करते हैं, हम लोगों को ब्लॉक कर देते हैं, हम लोगों को डिलीट कर देते हैं, हम लंबे चौड़े मैसेजेस लिख के भेज देते हैं गुस्से में, and then next morning we get up and we are not feeling as angry, then we feel sheepish and then we try to delete the messages hoping that they have not seen it till now. These are impulsive behaviors. The answer is not कि गुस्सा नहीं होना चाहिए. The answer is feel your anger and accept your anger and then figure out why are you feeling angry? What is the story that you're telling yourself? Let me take an example. Very simple thing that happens in my class. काफी बार होता है. बहुत बच्चे late walk in करते हैं. Right? Let's say you walk in and you look at your friend who's sitting and you smile at her and you just say, you smile at her, but she looks at you and looks away. Right? What are you going to, what would you feel? How would you feel? You enter the class, you look at your friend and you're like, you smile, you know, you're very excited, chirpy, morning. Some people are very morning people. बड़े खुश होते हैं सुबह सुबह. So आपने smile किया है, and but teacher पढ़ा रही है और आपकी friend ने आपको देखा और नहीं फिर नजरअंदाज कर दिया. How dare she do that? What does she think of herself? How could she just ignore me? That could be one. What kind of emotions would come when you have this story? You would feel angry. कैसे उसकी जरूरत कैसे हुई, उसने कैसे, what does she think of herself? How does she have so much of attitude? Or that is irritation and anger. Or you could be, oh my God, did I do something? Did I hurt her? Did I do something? So people with low sense of self-esteem are often going to think you've done something wrong. And you're going to go back and think all your last conversations. Did I say something? Did I do something? And this would make you feel afraid. I have done something. I am in trouble. Oh my God. You could also become people-pleasing after that. You would go up to her and say, what happened? But you would be like, don't hurt me, I'm scared. Or you could be hurt. You could be hurt. Why did she do that? Or there could be people who are telling the story. Maybe she's not a morning person. Maybe she's not doing okay. Maybe the teacher is looking at her and has been, maybe usko teacher ने 5 minute पहले ही डांटा है, उसका मूड ऑफ हो गया है क्योंकि टीचर ने डांटा है और वो तुम्हारी तरफ देख के हंसेगी तो टीचर उसे और डांटेगी. There could be many explanations to other people's behavior, but the explanation and the story that we are telling ourselves is very different. And we therefore become slave to our thoughts, emotions who are slave to our thoughts. So going back, yes, I am angry, but please sit down and write down the story that you continuously tell yourself. Nobody cares for me, nobody likes me. बहुत बार ऐसा होता है, you tell your friend, hey, listen, I really need to talk to you, messaged her. And let's say उसी टाइम पे एक मेरी जैसी टीचर हो, लंबी क्लास ले रही है, 2-3 घंटे की क्लास, और बोला फोन सब बैग में रखेंगे, कोई फोन नहीं उठाएगा सामने. 3 घंटे तक वो फोन नहीं उठा पा रही है अपना क्योंकि टीचर ने उसको डांट दिया. By the time, if you have this sense of self that nobody likes me, people don't love me, people just want to move away from me, people want to abandon me, आपने उसको delete कर देना है. How dare you? I wanted you, I needed you, you were not there. Why? People who have abandonment issues, anxiety, I will leave someone before they leave me. Right? So what are the stories that we are telling ourselves? You need to manage those stories. If you don't feel loved, you will not experience any love from outside because you will constantly keep testing people and think that they actually don't love you. They actually don't like you. It's just, by the way, all these good things are happening to you. Are you with me so far? I know it's 7 o'clock, but I would just like to finish, maybe take 10 more minutes. Is that okay, Ruchika?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. So the third part of emotional intelligence that has to do with our relationship with others, which is empathy, awareness of other people, their emotions, right? This is a very beautiful scene. Someone, Abhi, I think, had asked this question about what do we do when we're, how do you disconnect with yourself when someone shared something heavy with you and doesn't being emotionally intelligent make your overthink? Okay, I'll come back to that. I thought there was some other question. So this is a beautiful scene which shows empathy correctly. Empathy is not get over it. Empathy is not इतनी कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. Empathy is not yoga meditation करके देखो. Empathy is not advice giving. Empathy is not saying you should not be feeling these emotions. Empathy is, do you remember the scene from Queen? You remember? मेरा इतना life खराब हो गया, इतना life खराब हो गया. What does her friend do? Who's extremely compassionate? Does she say something to her? Anyone remembers this movie? You are from that generation that you've seen Queen, right? Yeah, have you seen Queen? Yes,
Mom, I
no?
think, yes,
Yeah.
Mom, I think more than saying something to her, she just listens and pats on her back throughout the time when she's sharing her problems with her.
Correct, correct. Lavanya, you must see Queen and you must see. So Queen is the second movie. If you've not seen, please watch Queen. Please watch Inside Out. Yes. So she does not advise her. She does not say anything to her. She sits with her and she, through non-verbal cues, just listens to her, lets her cry, lets her be. You see how her emotions go up and down. कभी रो रही है, कभी हंस रही है, कभी चुप है, कभी क्वाइट है, कभी से बात कर रही है, कभी डांस कर रही है. So she is with her through and through. She doesn't judge her. She actively listens to her non-judgmentally. And that is what you do with someone who has gone through something that you may not have gone through. You may not even be able to understand, but just listen to them. Many times we are so scared of मुझे मैं क्या बोलूं, when actually बोलना नहीं है, सुनना ज्यादा important है. Have you seen Dil Chahta Hai? I would like to show you a very small clip from Dil Chahta Hai. देखिए दिल चाहता है मूवी, ये तो और भी पुरानी मूवी है. So, yes, I'm not able to send message meeting group chat. Okay. So Dil Chahta Hai is about these three guys who are very close friends. If you haven't seen it, please see it. It has Akshay Khanna in it. It has Amir Khan in it and Saif Ali Khan in it. So there is a girl who's in love with Amir Khan, but Amir Khan is not in love with her. And she is very, she has a funny character where she keeps chasing Akash, Akash. So her name is Deepa. So she's sitting by the beach and this is what happens.
May I? दीपा, तुम आकाश को इतना क्यों चाहती हो? क्या मतलब? कभी कभी सोचता हूँ कि कोई किसी को क्यों चाहता है? क्यों चाहती हो उसे?
ये मैं नहीं जानती, बस चाहती हूँ.
ये जानते हुए भी कि आकाश
मुझे नहीं चाहता. हाँ, फिर क्यों?
दीपा, तुम खूबसूरत हो, इंटेलिजेंट हो, नहीं तो हजारों लड़के मिल सकते हैं.
इतनी अच्छी हो तो मुझे आकाश क्यों नहीं मिल सकता?
ये मैं नहीं जानता. हाँ, इतना जरूर जानता हूँ कि कल तुम्हें कोई मुसीबत हो तो आकाश तुम्हारे लिए जो कर सकता है करेगा. दीपा, ऐसी उम्मीदें ही नहीं करनी चाहिए जो इस रेत को देख रही हो. जितनी कोशिश करो इसे ज्यादा पकड़ने की, उतनी उंगलियों के बीच से निकल जाती.
Next it.
So this is a beautiful scene in the movie that shows empathy. And Sid is a highly emotionally intelligent person in the movie, much more than mature for his age, very wise, sensitive, caring, affectionate, emotionally regulated, etc. So in this movie, the girl is crying because the boy that she likes, Amir Khan's character, doesn't love her back. And she says, and he's trying to cheer her up, तुम इतनी सुंदर हो, तुम इतनी अच्छी हो. And she obviously snaps back angrily and says, अगर मैं इतनी अच्छी हूँ तो मेरे को आकाश क्यों नहीं मिल सकता है? So, can you hear me? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Arushi, can you please mute yourself? Arushi and Deepika. All right. So, my bad, sorry. हाँ, so अगर मैं इतनी अच्छी हूँ तो मुझे आकाश क्यों नहीं मिल सकता है? And which is where there is a silence, and that silence is a very understanding silence that Sid gives. And then he says that I don't know, but I know that Akash will be there. He's a good friend. He will be there to help you if you ever need any help. And then he says that if you hold sand in between your hands, वो निकल जाती है, वो गिर जाती. So you cannot control love like that. And that is why in the end she feels better and she says, thank you, Sid. So empathy with others. Whenever you find it very hard to empathize with a partner, with a close friend that you fought, with your parents, try and use this word, just like me. Just like me. मेरी ही तरह उन्हें भी ये चाहिए, मेरी ही तरह उनको भी ऐसा लग सकता है, मेरे को गुस्सा आ सकता है तो उन्हें भी आ सकता है. Just like me. The most you will ever empathize with your parents, especially with your mothers, is when you reach the age when they had you. I empathized with my mother most when I reached 25 years of age, which is when my mother had me. And I was like, oh my God, she had to be a mother at this age. And at this age, I don't even know what I want to do, who I want to be with. I don't have any clarity in my life. So oftentimes you're able to then forgive, empathize, and understand a lot of things that may have hurt you. Another point that I want to tell over here is that for women, we are generally considerate, empathetic because that's how we've been socialized. But we need to understand that without our boundaries, we are all the girls in this room, I'm sure you do a lot of emotional labor for your male friends. Phone आता है वो, अरे I broke up with this girl and आप 2 घंटे बैठ के therapy कर रहे हो free की. That is empathy without boundaries. That is that's maybe we can't discuss this over here, but giving to another person when you're empty and you can't give to yourself, that is self-harming. So empathy vis-a-vis boundaries that we can make for ourselves, that we should make for ourselves, which can only come back to the first point, self-awareness. अगर मैं बहुत low feel कर रही हूँ और मैं दूसरे को support नहीं कर सकती, so easier would be, listen, what I can do right now is this much. I will not be able to support you right now. I'm really sorry about that. And that is also empathetic. When you do more for people, then you can actually do, then you have capacity to, you are filled with resentment for them. That doesn't help anybody. That is not empathy. All right. And finally, and lastly, understanding relationship management skills. Empathy helps us manage our relationships better. Understanding that your mother has also been trapped by patriarchy and her thinking has been shaped by the limited opportunities that she had, as opposed to the next generation, can make you actually feel, maybe forgive her sometimes, and also feel more positively towards her and can contribute to having a better relationship with her. I don't have the time to play this video, but I do expect you to watch. I would suggest that you watch Inside Out. It's a story about emotions that have been personified. And the entire story is how everybody keeps sadness away. Sadness. तू दूर रह, sadness दूर रहो. That's how we treat sadness, right? See, sadness ना हो जाए, sadness नहीं होना चाहिए. But in the end, they realize the role sadness has. Because it is sadness who's able to, when you experience your pain, when you experience sadness, it is when you become whole. Positivity, happiness is a very incomplete part of you. Yes, Amrita, that's the scene with Bing Bong, the elephant. Sadness sits with Bing Bong. So Bing Bong is this animal that has lost something, is very sad. And happiness goes and gives a lot of toxic positivity, joy. Oh, let's go here, let's dance, look at this, look at that, ta, 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 ta. Right? So sadness comes and just sits, exactly what Sid did, and exactly what in the movie Queen, this friend Lakshmi does, helps, empathizes with Rani's character. The same thing sadness does with this elephant character, sits, hears, listens to him, and says that must have been hard, genuinely so, and not just superficial blanket statements. And then वो थोड़े से टॉफियां उसके आंखों से निकलते हैं, आंसू निकलते हैं, because it's a cartoon movie, and then he becomes better and happy and chirpy again. So social skills is the last part about emotional intelligence, putting all of this information together: awareness about yourself, empathy with the other person, management of your own self, and management of one's own emotions. This is what makes a very fulfilling existence, satisfying life, although extremely challenging. Challenging matlab why? Because emotions don't add up. It is much easier to do permutations and combination than to sit with your pain and sadness and your emotions. In that way, it is challenging. But emotions are not something that you can delete from your life. Emotions are not something that you can repress and cut off. If nothing else, it will come up and start showing in your body in terms of number of different disorders and conditions, autoimmune disorders, etc., because you've not paid enough attention to these emotions. Lastly, and this is my absolute last question, how many of you enjoy crying here? कितने लोगों को मजा आता है रोने में या रोते हैं? How many of you cry here easily? My last question. Lakshmita, okay, fantastic. I do, or at least I try to, when I'm feeling very heavy. Okay. Anyone else? You could also say I don't. That's fine. I don't cry easily. Before I did, but not anymore. Okay. I don't cry. Okay, Lakshita. Correct. Cry baby. Some months ago, I saw this man sitting alone in a park and crying. And it would have been an afternoon, winter afternoon. तो वो रो रहा था अकेले बैठ के और कोई नहीं था, खाली था. मैं वॉक करने गई थी आफ्टरनून में. And I felt very sad. And the reason I felt very sad is कि इस आदमी को अपने emotions express करने के लिए कोई जगह नहीं मिली, but एक पार्क, अकेला पार्क. आप घर में नहीं रो सकते, आप लोगों के सामने नहीं रो सकते हो, आप रो नहीं सकते हो, क्योंकि रोना मना है, रोने पे बैन है, रोना टैबू है, स्पेशली इफ यू आर अ बॉय. एंड एज अ मैन देन व्हाट आर द एवेन्यूज? आप एक पब्लिक प्लेस में जाके जोर जोर से रो रहे हो. इट वाज वेरी सैड फॉर मी. मेनी ऑफ यू वुड हैव टू क्राई इन योर पिलोज और इन द वॉशरूम बिकॉज it's the side that you don't want to show, when actually families can heal if they show each other the pain that they're going through and can have compassion towards each other. बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लम इसलिए होती है क्योंकि आप रो नहीं पाते हो, और फैमिलीज हमेशा ये बोलती हैं अगर मैं रोंगी तो उन्हें बुरा लगेगा, अगर मैं रोंगी तो उन्हें बुरा लगेगा. बट डिनायल विल नॉट हेल्प एनी फैमिली मेंबर. So just like we have a sick room in every college, we have this medical room, sick room bola jata tha school mein. I think there should be a room where if you feel very heavy and very emotional, you can go and cry and come back. It should be as natural as going to the washroom. For those who have a hard time crying, please watch Tare Zameen Par. So if you have a hard time crying, Tare Zameen Par is this some of the go-to songs in movies. जिसको आप देख के रो सकते हो. हल्का होता है. You feel this, it's called catharsis. And there should be no, it's cathartic. Yeah. People don't react well because as a society, we don't know what to do agar koi ro raha hai. We would tell them, mat ro, please mat ro. When what is helpful is, I see that you're hurt, cry. And the thing is, give them a tissue. That's it. If you tell people to not cry, you're telling them that I am uncomfortable with your emotions. It is not about them. It is about you then at the end of the day. So this is about, very briefly, about emotional intelligence that I could kind of put in these 1 hour, 20 minutes that I have got. Please feel free. I know there's so much discussion that I could have done, but I don't have time. We're running out of time. Feel free to ask questions, if any. There were some questions, Shreyas. Please, you'll have to just unmute yourself and ask again. I did not understand what you'd written.
Hi, ma'am. I was just asking, how do you disconnect yourself when somebody shares something heavy with you? And does being emotionally intelligent make you an overthinker?
When someone shares something heavy with you, how do you disconnect emotionally? So can you, when you say disconnecting emotionally, are you talking about the fact that their emotions are overwhelming you? तो अगर कोई रो रहा है तो आपको भी रोना आ रहा है उस तरीके से?
Yes, or we cannot stop thinking about it.
You cannot stop thinking. That's a very tricky question to ask. How do we stop thinking about, for example, so much is happening in the world around us today. Children are dying, hospitals are being bombed, people are at war with each other. How do we take care of our mental health? If you are specially an empathetic, and if you want to know who's empathetic, who's not, if you often get goosebumps when you're listening to music, that is a sign of being a very empathetic person, according to certain researchers. Okay, if you're an extremely empathetic person, it's not easy for you to kind of switch on and switch off. This is where mindfulness comes in, that if you feel like you are spending too much time on media, reading up on this death, this mishap, that mishap, you are spending a lot of time with people who are taking too much of you emotionally than what you can give, which means by at the end of having a conversation with them, often you feel spent. And this relationship could be a friendship, could be with parents, could be with a sibling. You feel extremely spent and you feel like, oh, this is my duty, I need to be there for them. No, then there is always possible to tell yourself that if I continue to give more in the moment, it inevitably I will resent them because I will have no more to give after a point of time. And in that case, it is empathetic to draw your boundaries and to say that I understand you're going through a tough time and there's only so much that I can do and I would really want to help you. Can I connect you with a professional? Because it's the professionals who are trained. It's not your responsibility all the time to sit through some very heavy emotions. There are times that people are not emotionally available in life. There's so much happening in your life. You may not be able to be there for another person. And yeah, so that's the best that you can do. Start valuing your limits. It will help you disconnecting the thing that's, and also what is stopping you from disconnecting? Is it guilt? Is it no, your self-worth depends on how much you can give to another person. Your guilt is coming from, no, I need to give to this person, otherwise they'll leave me. So what is stopping you from disconnecting? Because a healthy person knows that if you don't disconnect, that is unkinder. All right. How much empathy is too much empathy? Do you empathize with those who hurt you? So these are again very tricky questions. Too much empathy is at the cost of you. When empathy is coming at the cost of you, again, what I was just talking about, that constantly, every time you feel very spent in dealing with this kind of situation, and you are not blaming them, they are not doing this to you, but their situation has this effect on you, then too much empathy is what a lot of us women are socialized to do, which is what I was speaking in between. So when scan your body. If you feel like you are doing so, तुम अब बैठ के पूरी रात अपने फ्रेंड का ब्रेकअप सुन रहे हो, लेकिन अगले दिन आपका टेस्ट है और आप हर बार सुन रहे हो, that is too much empathy. That means that your self-interests are getting negated over the other. At the end of the day, emotional intelligence is the balance between the self and the other. ना आपका बढ़ना चाहिए पल्ला, ना उनका बढ़ना चाहिए. Do you empathize with those who hurt you is the second question, Amrita. Why not? Why shouldn't you? And also, why should you? Both are applicable. How much they've hurt. Is the hurt abuse? Can you empathize? Do you have it in you to empathize? It cannot be both extreme. You have to or you don't have to. There is nobody in this world who hasn't hurt. But how much you've hurt. So, for example, do you empathize with a murderer? Do you empathize with a rapist? Correct? So, what can you empathize with legitimately? Like I said, just like me. If you can say just like me, उनसे भी गलती हुई है, मैं भी गलती कर सकती हूँ, तो चलो माफ कर सकते हैं. That is where to forgive someone, empathy can come in. Oh, yeah, I've also done that. So I'm not holier than thou. Right. So anyone else has questions here? Any other question? Anything else that I could answer for you?
Dr. Nagar, I'm afraid we'll have to end this session now. It's already half an hour more than the expected time. So what I can do is, if you're okay with it, I can share your email ID with the students, and perhaps if they have any more queries, they could just email them to you. Would that be okay?
Sure. I don't think that's a problem, but I may take some time to respond in case there are a lot of emails that I have.
No problem. Or probably if students can collate it together and send it to you as just one. That will be better. Yeah. Thank you.
Ruchika, if I can just ask one thing, a quick thing. Dr. Nagar, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Hello, Dr. Nagar. Thank you so much for such a inspiring and such a thoughtful reflection on human mind and how emotions function. So first of all, thank you for that. And second of all, I'm Tarun. I'm a faculty in the English department. I just want to ask you one thing, that our students do take a lot of interest in such conversations, but I think that they go to internet to seek some basic understanding of such things. So I would ask you if you can recommend some books, some good books or some good authors that can give them an entry point, that could be an entry point for them to understand psychology, or something very basic that can help them understand emotional intelligence, because that was the topic of the day. So if you can recommend some books, couple of them.
Correct. I can collate something and send across, but my current lecture was based on Goleman's seminal work on emotional intelligence, and there are a lot of papers and books that the psychologist Goleman has written on emotional intelligence. This is definitely something that they can refer and they can go through. I would send across more legitimate content and sources. Having said that, I would also say that some of the content out there, even on Instagram and social media, is not very bad. But you have to sift through all of that, because it really presents thing in a very summarized format. And unfortunately, short content is where we are going towards. I know I can send you a list of papers and books, and maybe just one student would probably pick that up. But yeah, maybe try to collate something and send across.
Right, that will be great. That will be. Thank you so much for such a thoughtful reflection. And I would like to invite Parinita. Can we go ahead with a vote of thanks now?
Thank you so much.
As we have finally reached the end of the talk, I, Aisha Hima, President, Department of English, would like to take this opportunity to express a vote of thanks. Firstly, I would like to express my gratitude to Dr. Itisha Naga for taking time out of a busy schedule and holding such an insightful webinar with us. I would also like to thank our principal, Professor Swati Pal. Without her able administration and support, we would not have achieved our goals. I extend my heartiest gratitude to our DIC, Dr. Namita Sethi, for being our guidance throughout the event. I would genuinely like to thank our faculty members, Ms. Ruchika Bhatia, Mr. Tarun Sharma, and Dr. Madhulika Nirmal for showing their enthusiastic support throughout this event. Thank you for your guidance and encouragement. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Nagar. Once again, it was a very, very interactive and an insightful session. I'm sure our students loved it. I'm extremely sorry because of the shortage of time, we couldn't take any more questions, but I would definitely, collate a few queries and email them to you if required. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much. The pleasure